Hey guys, Cameron with CBM Reviews here, and it took me a long time, but I said to myself, if I'm going to start something, I need to finish it, so I finally finished Black Lightning. And I'm here to give you my opinion on it, what I thought about a lot of the things, what I thought about the acting, the story, the portrayals, the music, the settings, all of it. And in all honesty, I'm trying to figure out exactly where I want to start. And I suppose that the story is going to be the best option. Like any season that's going to have 13 episodes, this has got a lot of bobbing and weaving going in and out and different storylines that kind of converge into one. Except this one doesn't really do a very good job of converging into one. What you have are a lot of 2 to 4 episode runs that just kind of do their own thing and then they end and then another one stops. And you don't really have a whole lot of villains that are converging into one particular storyline. You do have a couple that converge, but in all honesty, it doesn't really have a full cohesive feeling to it. And that's not necessarily a terrible thing, considering some of the villains, which I'm going to get to later, are really, we'll say, stereotypical for now. As far as the character Black Lightning, he's had these powers for a while. He stopped being Black Lightning for a while to try to save his family. It doesn't really work anyway. So something happens, his daughters get kidnapped, so he becomes Black Lightning again. And over the course of the season, he finds out that his daughters also have powers. One decides to go on the street and help him fight crime, and the other one is kind of like dismissive, doesn't really want these powers, wants to live a normal life. I like that aspect of it. Particularly the younger daughter who says, I don't want these powers, this isn't who I want to be. And it definitely had that feel of being an alien or a captive in your own skin. I like that part. It definitely has a mutant X-Men feel to it. And I love that. That's definitely one of the high points of the season. And the daughter who wants to fight crime, she seems a little corny. Some of the lines that she uses over and over the course of a few episodes, and I started rolling my eyes every single time I heard it. But that's kind of your story in a nutshell, where he's trying to stop things from going on. There's drugs in the community, and he's trying to find out who's supplying the drugs, stop who's supplying the drugs. And the longer that they keep going on with this mission, they pick up a few other missions. Your typical superhero season. Let's stop there and go to the acting. And as far as the acting is concerned, there are a couple of things that I do want to harp on. Number one, sometimes it's corny. And I'm not really a big fan of this type of show being corny. It needs to be a little bit more on the serious side. When I say corny, I'm talking about some of the conversations that happen within the family, some of the conversations that happen with bad guys, and it sometimes just really took me out of the whole situation. For the most part, the main characters do a pretty good job. I felt like the mom in this, Lynn, sometimes had some weak points. Now, she's the only person in the family that doesn't have any powers. But in order for her to really shine, she needs to be like the brains behind everything. She needs to be the moral compass that makes sure that everybody that's out there doing whatever have their heads screwed on tight. And I just didn't feel like I got that with her. Yeah, she's the smartest one in the bunch because she's a doctor and everything. I just didn't feel like that moral compass was there. Kind of like in the same way Splinter is the moral compass of the Turtles. They go out and they do all the fighting and everything like that. But whenever, they're not really sure of what they need to do, they come back to Splinter. I felt like that's what Lynn should have been doing in this season. So there's that. And as far as the acting is concerned, they needed to do a better job of screening those extras. Every now and then they do news interviews where they talk to the people on the streets and they're like, what do you think about Black Lightning? Or what do you think about Jefferson Pierce or whatever? And this is some of the worst acting that you'll see on TV. Like, there's better acting in reality television shows whenever they have those news things. And it's not just the people they interview, but the people that are on the news, like the anchors, are giving bad performances. The only really good performance was the only authentic news person that was on the news, and that was Roland Martin. Roland Martin, I was like, yeah, Roland Martin, yeah, give me some. But everybody else just was bad. And speaking of bad, there's one bad guy, and I'm trying to keep this relatively spoiler-free, but there's one bad guy who is bad. And I'm not saying that he's really evil or he's a horrible character. I'm saying he's bad. Like, it is so cliche. And I can spoil it this way. There's a movie that came out in the very early 2000s called Undercover Brother, directed by Malcolm Lee. It's a funny movie, but in that movie, the main bad guy was the man. And you have a character who is practically an extension of the man. And if you're gonna have a television show that is centered around the black experience, I think the most patronizing thing you can do is have your main bad guy be a stereotypical black hating white guy. I also felt like the setting wasn't authentic. And I'm not talking about the settings that you see in their house or the settings at the school. The entire city, they reference it over and over and over again. But I never felt like I got a feel of that city. I just didn't feel it. And this is not the only thing that I felt like I didn't get a full representation of. Whenever they're talking about this gang that's local in the area called the 100, we see them prominently in like the first 2 episodes, and then they're barely there. Even though they keep talking about it's like, oh, they're causing a whole bunch of havoc in the city, and then they introduce this drug called green light, and this drug is supposed to cause a whole bunch of trauma, and it's very prominent in like the 3rd and 4th episode, and then we hardly ever see it after that. And I feel like they introduce a lot of things and they don't follow up strong with it. And that's a missed opportunity. And unfortunately, we see missed opportunity after missed opportunity after missed opportunity. This show isn't all bad though. You do have some good, strong performances out of the guy who played Tobias Wells. I really love Jill Scott's character, Lady Eve. As much as I thought I wouldn't like Lala, he actually shows back up later in the season, which was kind of surprising. And it was an interesting take. I was a little weirded out. I was like, what are they going to do with this? But it wasn't bad. I liked it. It was interesting, and interesting is good. One of the things that I didn't like about it though, and this is a big sin, sometimes the music doesn't fit. Sometimes the music takes you out of the scene. The music is supposed to accentuate the scene. It's supposed to build upon something that's already good and elevate it to a precipice that you are in an experience and you're not just watching a show. The problem is that sometimes the music selections that they do, they're jarring. And the best example of this is in the final episode. And this isn't going to ruin anything as far as the story is concerned, but they're in this kind of like final fight scene where it's like this military style operative team is going up against our good guys. And the song that they chose is Shining Star. I didn't feel like that song was a fit. And so that was a huge misstep for me. So after taking all of these things into consideration, what is my takeaway? Unfortunately, it's not very good. And the reason why it's not very good is not because everything failed, but because we got so much better with Luke Cage. Luke Cage came out later on in the year and did a lot of things better. It kept things centralized. You felt like you were in Harlem in Luke Cage. You got a feeling for these characters. And in Luke Cage, everybody's hairstyle stayed pretty much the same throughout. In Black Lightning, the daughter's hairstyles changed so fast. I'm like, I understand they're trying to showcase off black hairstyles, but I mean, they're dropping a lot of money. I mean, Jefferson Pierce, you getting all their hair did except for Lynn. Lynn's hair, who's the wife, her hair stays the same length throughout the entirety of the season. I'm like, I guess she ain't getting her hair. I'm nitpicking. I am nitpicking, but this is an inferior show in comparison to Luke Cage. Luke Cage did it right. You felt like the villains they had some meaning to it. They weren't just being stereotypically bad guys, whereas in this one, there's some stereotypical. There's a line where the man says, "Let's make America great again." I was ready to just stop the show there, but I powered through for you. I'm not going to give it a grade. I only do my grades for my movies, but if I were to suggest whether or not you should watch this show, so that's my review for Black Lightning. Let me know what you guys thought in the comment section down below. And if I do more TV shows, if you guys want me to do more TV shows, let me know. And instead of doing it on a full season base, I might try to do it episode by episode, and that way I don't review it 6 months late. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, share this with all your friends. And as always, this is Cameron with CB Reviews. We'll see you next time.